You know that feeling when you're scrolling through the news and you see something that makes your stomach drop just a little? Like when you notice gas prices jumping overnight, or when your grocery bill is suddenly $40 more than it was last month for the exact same items. That's how a lot of people felt when they saw gold hit record highs recently. Because gold doesn't just randomly explode in price, it moves when people are afraid. And right now, people are very afraid. But here's what nobody's really talking about. This isn't just about gold. This is about what gold represents. It's about what happens when the systems we've been told to trust our entire lives start showing cracks. And whether you own gold or not, whether you even care about investing or not, what's happening right now is going to affect your life in ways most people don't see coming yet. So let me walk you through what's actually going on. Because once you understand why gold is moving like this, you'll understand something much bigger about the world we're living in right now. Let's start with the basics. Gold has been considered valuable for thousands of years, literally thousands. Empires rose and fell, currencies came and went, entire civilizations disappeared. But gold stayed valuable. And there's a reason for that. Gold can't be printed. It can't be created out of thin air. You can't just decide one day that there's more of it. You have to dig it out of the ground, process it, refine it. It's scarce. It's tangible. You can hold it in your hand. Now compare that to the money in your bank account. That's just numbers on a screen. And those numbers, they can be created whenever someone with enough power decides to create them. We saw this during the pandemic. Trillions of dollars appeared seemingly overnight. Stimulus checks, business loans, expanded unemployment. The money printer, as people started calling it, went into overdrive. And here's the thing most people don't connect. When you create more of something, you dilute the value of what already exists. It's basic supply and demand. If there's suddenly twice as many dollars in the system but the same amount of goods and services, each dollar is worth less. That's inflation. That's why your rent went up. That's why your groceries cost more. That's why it feels like your paycheck doesn't stretch as far as it used to, even though the number on your paycheck might have gone up a little. People feel this. They might not understand the economics behind it, but they feel it in their bones. They feel it every time they check out at the store, every time they fill up their tank, every time they try to save money and realize how much less that money will buy them in the future. And when people start feeling like the money they work so hard for is losing value, they look for something that holds value, something that can't be printed or manipulated or inflated away. They look for gold. But it's not just regular people buying gold right now. This is where it gets interesting, and honestly, a little unsettling. Central banks around the world have been buying gold at a pace we haven't seen in decades. These are the institutions that control entire national currencies, the people who supposedly have all the faith in the world in the fiat money system. And yet, they're stockpiling gold like there's no tomorrow. China's central bank has been adding to its gold reserves. Same with Russia, India, Turkey, Poland. Even countries that traditionally held most of their reserves in US dollars are quietly shifting. They're diversifying away from dollars and into gold. Now, why would they do that? Why would the people who run the money system be hedging against their own system? Because they see what's coming. They see the debt levels. They see the political instability. They see the tensions between major powers. They see the cracks in the global financial system that most of us aren't paying attention to because we're too busy trying to pay our bills and live our lives. And here's what makes this scary. When the institutions that are supposed to be confident in the system start preparing for problems, that tells you something. That tells you that maybe the system isn't as stable as we've been led to believe.
Let me give you an example of how this actually affects you, even if you never touch gold in your life. Imagine you've been saving money, you've been responsible, you've been doing everything right. You've got $10,000 in your savings account. That's your emergency fund. That's your security blanket. That's what lets you sleep at night, knowing that if something goes wrong, you've got a cushion. But now let's say inflation runs at 5% a year, just 5%. It doesn't sound like much, right? But after 1 year, your $10,000 only has the purchasing power of $9,500. After 5 years, you've lost over $2,500 of purchasing power. You still see $10,000 in your account, but it buys what 7,700 used to buy. You didn't do anything wrong. You were responsible, you saved, but the value of your savings eroded anyway because the money itself lost value. This is what people are protecting against when they buy gold. They're not trying to get rich quick. They're trying to not get poor slowly. They're trying to preserve what they've worked for. They're trying to make sure that the hours of their life they traded for money don't just evaporate into nothing. And when you understand that, you understand why gold is surging. It's not greed, it's fear. It's people looking around at the world and saying, I don't trust that my money is going to be worth what it needs to be worth when I need it. Now here's where this gets even more psychological. Gold isn't just an investment, it's a vote of no confidence. Every dollar that flows into gold is a dollar that's flowing out of faith in the system. Think about what that means. Think about what it says about where we are as a society. We're living through a moment where trust in institutions is at historic lows. Trust in government, trust in media, trust in corporations, trust in the financial system itself. All of it is eroding. And people respond to that erosion by trying to find something solid, something that feels real. Gold feels real in a way that numbers on a screen don't. You can touch it, you can hold it. It exists independent of any government or bank or promise. That psychological component is huge because markets aren't just about math and economics, they're about emotion. They're about fear and greed and hope and anxiety. And right now, the dominant emotion in the market is fear. Fear of inflation, fear of currency devaluation, fear of political instability, fear of what happens if the system that we've built our entire lives around starts to fail. So what does this mean for you? What does this mean for someone who's just trying to make it through the day, pay their bills, maybe save a little bit for the future? First, it means you need to understand what's happening. You need to see the bigger picture because these aren't just abstract economic concepts. These are forces that are actively shaping your life right now. The reason your rent is higher, the reason your groceries cost more, the reason it's harder to save, the reason retirement feels further away than it did for your parents. All of this is connected. Second, it means you need to think about how to protect yourself. And I'm not saying you need to go out and buy gold bars and bury them in your backyard. That's not the point. The point is that you need to think about how to preserve the value of your work, the value of your time, the value of what you've built. Maybe that means investing in things that tend to hold value during inflationary times. Maybe it means learning skills that will be valuable no matter what the economy does. Maybe it means building community and relationships, because at the end of the day, human connection and mutual support might be the most valuable thing any of us have. But most importantly, it means not pretending everything is fine when the signals are telling you otherwise. It means paying attention. It means being aware. It means understanding that the rules of the game have changed, and if you keep playing by the old rules, you're gonna lose.
Here's something I think about a lot. My grandparents lived through times when things felt uncertain, when the systems people relied on didn't work the way they were supposed to, and the people who made it through, the people who not only survived but built something for the next generation, they weren't the people who had the most money or the most gold or the most anything. They were the people who stayed calm, who stayed smart, who didn't panic, but who also didn't ignore reality, who adapted, who learned, who helped each other. That's what this moment calls for. Not panic, not fear, but clear-eyed awareness of what's happening and thoughtful preparation for what might come. Gold skyrocketing isn't just a financial story, it's a human story. It's millions of people around the world looking at the same signals and coming to the same conclusion. Something isn't right. The old certainties don't feel certain anymore. The old promises don't feel as solid as they used to. And whether that's scary or empowering depends entirely on how you respond to it. You don't need to become a gold expert. You don't need to turn into a doomsday prepper. You don't need to upend your entire life. But you do need to pay attention. You do need to educate yourself. You do need to think critically about where you put your trust, where you put your money, where you put your time and energy. Because we're living through one of those moments in history where things are shifting, where the ground is moving beneath our feet. And the people who recognize that, who adapt to that, who prepare for that, they're going to be okay.
They're going to come out the other side with their dignity intact, with their security intact, with the ability to take care of themselves and the people they love. The people who ignore it, who assume everything will just go back to normal, who keep their head in the sand, they're the ones who are going to be caught off guard when the next shoe drops. So look, I'm not here to tell you what to do with your money. I'm not a financial advisor. I can't tell you whether gold is right for you or not. That's your decision. That's your journey. But I am here to tell you that what's happening with gold right now matters. It's a canary in the coal mine. It's a signal that something bigger is going on. And if you're smart, if you're aware, if you're willing to look at reality instead of just hoping everything works out, you'll take that signal seriously. You'll start thinking about how to protect yourself, how to preserve what you've built, how to make sure that the life you're working so hard to create doesn't just slip away because the systems you relied on turned out to be more fragile than you thought. This isn't about fear. This is about wisdom. This is about recognizing the moment we're in and responding to it thoughtfully, calmly, intelligently. Because at the end of the day, that's all any of us can do. We can't control the economy. We can't control the government. We can't control what central banks do or what politicians decide. But we can control how we respond. We can control how we prepare. We can control whether we face the future with our eyes open or closed. And that choice, that simple choice to stay aware and stay prepared, that might make all the difference.